The Bank of Ghana has announced that KPMG, an international accounting firm, is to take over the running of Unibank, which has become insolvent or is simply in financial crisis.
We have started to clean up the financial sector, and today we are announcing the continuation of that cleanup with the appointment of an administrator for Unibank by the Bank of Ghana. The bank has put Unibank under official administration to protect the stability of the financial sector. The official administrator will assume the responsibility of management and direct the bank in a manner that contributes to the stability of the bank and the safety of depositors' funds. Broadly, the role of the official administrator will include the following: take management control over the institution with powers that replace those of the shareholders, board of directors, and senior management. Be responsible for preserving the assets and liabilities of the bank, preparing a final resolution plan, and restructuring the bank under the oversight of the Bank of Ghana. Granted a specific time frame, that is 6 months, as prescribed by the Banks and Special Deposit Institutions Act, in which to thoroughly analyze the bank's condition and prepare a feasible rehabilitation plan. Handle all contacts with the media after the intervention period. And lastly, ensure that the bank remains open to maintain confidence in the banking system by allowing depositors access to their funds and other banking services. In taking this decision, we wish to note that Unibank Ghana Limited has been faced with severe insolvency and liquidity challenges over the past 2 years, with persistent clearing deficits resulting in extensive reliance on Bank of Ghana's emergency liquidity assistance instrument since 2015. As a result, Bank of Ghana is heavily exposed to Unibank to the tune of 2.2 billion, of which 1.6 billion is unsecured.
My two colleagues, Edward Nyako and Maurice Ogbete, were at the premises of the Bank of Ghana to inquire from the governor, the Bank of Ghana, beg your pardon, what the update is at the moment, and they have just returned. So, Maurice, you were there. What can you tell us?
Well, this afternoon we were invited to an emergency meeting at the Bank of Ghana, and surprisingly, we were told that K.P.M.G, which is an international accounting firm, will take over the management of Unibank. Now, under this particular arrangement, Unibank will still operate as Unibank, just that K.P.M.G will be managing the affairs for 6 months. After 6 months, when the bank is returned to the path of growth, they hand over the assets and everything of Unibank back to Unibank. So at the moment as we speak, it's not as if the Bank of Ghana has collapsed Unibank. It's not as if KPMG is now going to own Unibank. They're just managing their affairs because Unibank's management, according to the Bank of Ghana, have failed to manage the affairs of the bank well. At the moment, they are insolvent. They have liquidity issues. They have capital adequacy ratio of a negative 24%. They've been running a capital adequacy ratio of 0 for the past 2 years since 2012. The Bank of Ghana has given them several warnings, and it's landed nowhere.
Edward, if this is not resulting in a total takeover of the bank, but it's still an indictment on the management of the bank, what will happen likely, what will be the likely situation should, after 6 months, as he has said, the management returns to Unibank? Will we still have the same management in place? Yeah,
for now, we're told that some top brass of Unibank have been made to go, they've been asked to go home, and as if this has not happened before. This has happened before because Bank of Housing and Construction also went through administration some years ago. Cooperative Bank also went through that, and then that led to NIB, or National Investment Bank, taking some of the assets of these two banks that collapsed in those days. Okay, so what the law actually says that after 6 months, if they are not able to, what they're going to look through, if they don't see any sign of positive outlook, then automatically the Bank of Ghana will take over or shut Unibank down and start running Unibank, and we'll look at other models or other things to be done to be able to make sure that customers don't lose their shares. So what is happening is that Unibank, as we're told through Bank of Ghana, did not allow them to even look through their books some time ago.
And they were reporting, cooked figures at a point, making, things look bright and good. Meanwhile, Unibank has been struggling since 2012 because...
But the irony is, just about a week ago, there was news in town, which was later refuted by the Bank of Ghana anyway, that Unibank was rather going to take over the administration of ADB.
That is what I call the tactics in the banking or financial realm, because these are some of the things that is done to make sure that if you are not smart, one will overtake you. So what essentially is happening that the Bank of Ghana is stamping its authority to make sure there's sanity in the financial market, because whether we like it or not, the economy of Ghana is expanding. We need a consolidated bank or banks that are very strong enough to be able to take on bigger envelopes or projects, okay? So what is happening at the moment is that if you look critically, this bank should have been part of the bank that went under.
Yeah,
and
the 9 banks that were...
The 9 banks, because we were told that some 9 banks were struggling to, to stand on its feet. So these are some of the things that is happening. But I think it's good for customers in the sense that if you do over trading, that is essentially going for customers' money to run your daily activities, is not healthy. Right. Because you need to be very healthy and sound to be able to operate efficiently in the financial market. So essentially, it boils down to management inefficiencies.
Right. And I think they have some corporate governance issues. I mean, giving loans to people who didn't deserve the loans, who didn't have the capacity to pay back. But maybe because of family and friends, business kind of, they went ahead to give the loans, even though the Bank of Ghana want them not to. Okay,
so I have Mr. Collins Appiah here. I'll be speaking to him shortly. He's an economist. But just before I take leave of you, very briefly, when this happened a couple of months ago with the collapse of UT Bank, with the collapse of Capital Bank, we're thinking these were Ghanaian banks. Unibank is a Ghanaian bank as well. Sure. What's happening to our Ghanaian banks?
Well, I think that as the Bank of Ghana said, corporate governance issues. Now, corporate governance issues got to do with accountability, integrity, and making sure the right things are done. Sure. So I think that money does not respect where you're coming from or where you're going. What matters more is, shareholders' money, customers' money are given to you to manage, because you're given the confidence I can manage your money for you. So we need to make sure that what I take the money for, I'm able to use the money for that, because let's not forget, this is not the first time it's happening. It has happened elsewhere. Talk of America, Bernard Madoff and so, they were all running banks and financial institutions that were big, but eventually they went under, because if you fail to play according to the rules, the laws will catch up with you.
Before you speak to him, let me assure customers, the Bank of Ghana is saying that their funds or their deposits remain safe with Unibank, and so there shouldn't be any panic withdrawal. Unibank remains Unibank until maybe 6 months later.
So it's just management.
They are taking over
the staff of Unibank will still go to work.
They're still working, and everything is still intact.
All right. So at this point, we'll say thank you to you, and we'll see the other stories you come up with as the days roll by. And we've also been joined in the studio by Mr. Collins Appiah. Mr. Appiah is an economist with the Services Integrity Savings and Loans, and we'll be asking him to explain to us how come banks arrive at this point in the first place. Mr. Appiah, thank you very much for accepting our invitation. First of all, how did we get here? UT Bank collapsed, Capital Bank collapsed. We thought we had heard the last of the stories, because we were all thinking that other banks will learn from the mistakes of these banks and tighten their belts. What happened?
I think for me, today also happened to be one of the days that some of us are experiencing sad news from the financial sector. When UT and Capital Bank went down, the same news wasn't. I think most of us, I should say, were not really happy. Then the question comes as to what is happening. If you look at the information that is coming from Bank of Ghana, you realize that these are things that have really happened in the past. You get financial institutions playing some game, more or less, in the past, where for me, if you ask me, I would say that you look at the way UT operated. One of the main examples that cited in a collapse is the issue of corporate governance, management of risks, and as well as maybe the general economy that we find ourselves. At the time, you could see the number of businesses that UT Bank as an institution was running, and normally they call UT Holdings. That should tell you something. I think the same thing can be said by Capital Bank. At the time, Capital Bank also had some groups of companies that they were also operating. The question is, these are one man in quote that are more or less behind the scene. For UT Bank, more or less, because he listed some of the shares on the stock market, you can say, okay, at the time, Mr. Nwabin was not the sole, shareholder. You wouldn't say the sole shareholder by having the majority, shares in this. But I think that most of the bank took advantage of taking deposited money and over-trading with it, doing other business that's in quote, we're having more risks that the financial sector couldn't have accommodated at the time. And that's what I think the effect of what we are saying.
But in the specific case of Unibank, what could these subsidiary businesses have been?
I believe that I think some of us are aware of, if you talk of Unibank, we know UniCredit, UniSecurity. They have group of companies, a couple of them on the, and I think even Bank of Ghana even cited the fact that they've sort of even given some businesses to their subsidiaries, and therefore did not even seek approval from them. And I believe that it could be one of the reasons why maybe their financials have been impaired in court.
We see banks come in from other parts of the world, especially Africa, and are thriving. They're even acquiring smaller banks. How come the indigenous Ghanaian banks, from the evidence we have from UT, Capital, and now Unibank, we can say are struggling?
As I pointed, I think corporate governance for me is one of the key issues. Normally, Ghanaians, what we are noted for is what we say we know how to read very well. But when it comes to the implementation, I think we have a very big challenge there. We will set the corporate governance structure the way maybe the regulator expects, meaning that yes, we have a shareholder, you have board of directors, you have your key management, and up to the the security person who is the staff under the company. But then, when you have this structure, what are the responsibilities that this structure that we've put in place are supposed to do when it comes to granting of loans? And you could see that most of them have problems because of the loans, the asset that they are holding. When you have, what kind of limit has, let's say, the credit committee have got to approve a loan? What kind of limit has the CEO got in terms of approving a loan? And what kind of limit when it comes to the board has it also got, the board has got, to give a loan? And I think we just put the structures down and not respecting the structure that we expected to.
Okay, so the Bank of Ghana, let's look at their activities as well. Having come out with such an announcement, one would have thought that if it's just a change in management, this could have been done internally without this public announcement, which can trigger panic withdrawal of monies from Unibank, which could also lead ultimately to its financial problems increasing. Couldn't the Bank of Ghana have handled this differently?
I think that, you see, the Bank of Ghana, being a regulator, is very careful when it comes to some of these things. And before they come out to take a decision, it means a lot of things have really gone into it. Maybe behind the scene, if you go and ask the central bank, they will tell you how accommodative they have been to some of these banks. I remember at the time, even Capital and UT, they were, and if you read the story, the press release, you realize that they've even built them out almost about 2.2 billion, meaning that they've been supporting them over time. But the question is, for how long can you continue to do that? The act that is protecting the financial sector, it's so clear. You get to a point and you realize that no, I think you can't, as a regulator, you can't continue to sort of support one financial institution. Then you have to let the law take its course. But normally, I think, and for me, what I'm really happy about is for Bank of Ghana not sitting down to get to a point where UT Bank and Capital Bank got to. Because if they have allowed more time, they would have gotten to a point where you have to collapse it. Collapsing means that you have to just liquidate the institution. This time around, I think the difference between what they did to Capital Bank and UT as against Unibank is that the act says that you can appoint an administrator. Administrator means that, hey, you think things are not well, let me get management, let me change management. Okay. Let me get some people to go and take over and see how.
Mr. Appiah, we are running out of time, but quickly, before you go, our two reporters, Edward Nyako and Morris, did tell us that some of the reasons that have been assigned for this if like change in management, is because the bank had become insolvent, and that it had also gotten some liquidity issues. Now, if you have these two major issues surrounding a bank, and at the same time in a statement you say do not panic withdraw, that for me is a contradiction. I mean, my money won't be safe. Will customers' savings be safe?
I think, you see, that's why for me, as I said, the time that they've come out is very clear. I can say that their monies will be safe in a sense that, you see what happened to Unibank, UT Bank and Capital Bank, for commercial bank to take over. What they have done is for KPMG to go and take over, assess the book, the assets and the liabilities, and see where the position of the company is, financial position. If it happens that even the liability, the assets are too bad for the company to go down, Bank of Ghana will still not sit down for service or deposit to lose. And therefore, they will probably let another bank like, GCB or another bank that is stronger to come and take. And, Eddie cited the example. The same thing happened to Bank for Housing and Construction. Even if the company will go down, savers for liability, you have to safeguard that. Because if you don't do so, you affect the entire financial system. People will not have confidence in doing business in the bank.
Mr. Appiah,
so I think savers are very
thank you very much for your time this evening. Keep your phone line open. We'll be calling you subsequently until we get to the bottom of this matter. And we've been talking to Mr. Collins Appiah, who is an economist, and he has been explaining to us how Unibank may have arrived at this point where the Bank of Ghana has indicted its management and given the management of the bank for at least the next 6 months to the KPMG. And we have also been told that the staff and the savings of depositors are all safe with Unibank as it is now. So